Hey, welcome to Bible Bites, everyone. I'm Pastor Dan, and we are reading through the Bible one small bite at a time. We've been going through the book of Matthew, and we're in chapter 10. We're going to read verses 5 through 15 today. It's up on the screen already for you. Last week we did talk about Jesus' 12 disciples a little bit, had also called apostles. We went over their names, had a brief discussion. And it says, these 12 Jesus sent out, instructing them, go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Jesus is telling them to go only to the Jews. The Jews were God's chosen people, meaning that from the nations, God brought forth out of them a man called Abraham and made him a nation of people. God would put his name on these people, make a covenant with them, deliver them actually also, and he would they were to represent him to all the nations in the world. Now they were a disobedient people, and God would allow them eventually to go into captivity to be overcome by other nations. And so Jesus is saying, go to the Jews, wherever they're scattered, go to the Jews and tell them about me. And he'll talk about the message that they're to share. But Jesus would eventually extend his salvation and the message to all nations and all people. But it was to come from the Jews, right, from his people. So God still cared for this people. And of course, even though he cared for all the nations, he still cared for these people because he had labored with them, right? They were his children, and he would adopt many others. But for now, their disciples, the apostles, were to focus on the Jews only. And so he says, and proclaim as you go, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven, that's God's reign. This is the main teaching of Jesus. Everything he says has to do with the kingdom of heaven, God's reign. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. We've read already 10 chapters or 9 chapters, and we've seen Jesus do all of these things. And so Jesus is giving his disciples the authority now to do this. And he says, you've received without paying, give without pay. Acquire no gold or silver or copper for your belts, no bag for your journey, or 2 tunics, or sandals, or a staff, for the laborer deserves his food. So, Jesus wants them to trust God. And they're not to charge money as they're going. They are not to pack up a suitcase as though they got to take all these provisions, but they're just going to rely on God for what they need. And whatever town or village you enter, find out who is worthy in it and stay there until you depart. As you enter the house, greet it. And if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. So in Jesus' day, there was a hospitality that was much more vibrant than today. We would not readily receive someone that just came to our door and said, hey, I'm passing through your town. Can I sleep here tonight? But that wasn't so abnormal in Jesus' day. And so Jesus is saying, listen, if anyone receives you, then let your blessing be upon it. Let your blessing be upon that household. And 14, and if anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet when you leave that house or town. So he's saying, listen, if they reject you, they won't accept you, then just sever the connection you have with them, right? Just shake the dust off. You've gone, and now they rejected you, and you're done with them. So it's almost not necessarily a curse, but your blessing certainly is removed, right? There's no blessing given. Truly I say to you, it will be more bearable on the day of judgment for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah than for that town. Sodom and Gomorrah is a story in the Old Testament. You can read about it. They're towns which were full of people that were doing wicked things. And God destroyed them using fire and sulfur. Because of their wickedness, God destroyed them. And so God is saying, listen, it's going to be more bearable for them during the day of judgment than it will be for those that reject you. Because rejecting those of God is as rejecting God himself. And so, the culture in Israel was definitely more hospitality driven today. So I know some of this seems like, wow, we wouldn't do that. We would not do that today. But even, receiving food and stuff from others, it wasn't abnormal to receive a meal from those if you were a traveler. And especially, if whatever your message was, and often religious leaders would travel about sharing the message of God, and if they were received, it was an acceptance of the message as well. All right, I will see you in our next Bible Bites video, where we'll continue reading in chapter 10, reading about the instruction Jesus is giving his disciples as he sends them out. We'll see you.